But we started a relationship, and a lot of things initially was I wanted to let him know, because he's a person that a lot of people ask things of. I wanted to say to him, I value you. So if there's an article I thought he would be interested in, like he actually does this leadership book with all his administrators, and I've suggested 4 or 5 books that they've used. And that's part of it. When you build a relationship, you need to have a goal related to this. How are you going to maybe have an angle? And particularly, I think of this not just in terms of maybe community leaders, because that's my story, but if you're looking to develop a relationship with someone who's far from God, this is maybe even for you to think about. Bless. Find out about them. I know there's this moment, we all have this, right, that we know about Jesus and maybe they don't. And so we got to figure out when to bring that up. But I invite you to rest in the blessing that God will kind of let that flow. But as you listen, you maybe see the opportunities to speak to them about their life and their faith. That's an axiom for us. Next, to influence the room, you need to be in the room. When you're looking with all the different demands that you have, one of the questions that I have in my mind is, do I have to be in that room or not? Or can I trust other people in the room? And if I can trust other people in the room, then I don't have to be in the room. But if I need to be in the influence in the room, I need to be there. It helps me prioritize. There's a long, complicated story, which I'm probably not going to tell you. In part, the bottom line was, because I was willing to be in this room for a 9/11 remembrance anniversary and help plan this, the local Catholic church, in front of 900 folks, said, we're just so glad that New Life Church is here. And Pastor Jewel and so I had the blessing of the community in a new way because I went to these meetings. You never know how other people will bless you because you've been in the room. You never know what insights you might be able to gather because you were in the room. Do you have to be in all the rooms all the time? No. But if you're looking for a little quick axiom, you got to think, do I need to be in that room to influence them? I'm going to go through them fast, and then you can, maybe if you even keep track of the numbers, we can go back and hear him. Number 6, to go fast, go alone, to go far, go with others. That's actually an African proverb. And that's been one of mine because there's moments in ministry that you just think, I could just do it quick. I could just do it by myself. I don't have to bring anybody along with. I don't even need to tell anybody what I've done. And that'll be just a lot easier. It may be easier, but for the growth of ministry and growth of others, it probably is not really the way to go. I also think this is why, and I'm not a marathoner. I have an arthritic toe, so it kind of stops that in many ways. But you see how people go in packs, kind of walk. Some of you know, and you're part of that world, you know, because it's just, you get a pace. And so if you're just by yourself, you lose context about how fast I'm going, how fast I need to go. And it's really helpful to go with people in that kind of race. Well, ministry is a marathon, if you didn't figure it out. It may feel like a sprint, but it really is a marathon. And for me, it really was the blessing and necessity of a pure group. So even as you're here in this room and you're making relationships, I invite you to think about who continues to be a group for you that helps you kind of go along with others. And I'm blessed to hear lots of stories, pastors getting together who do this. I know of children's ministry leaders who kind of do a retreat planning day at somebody's house and say, rather than do it at the office, we're just going to do it here. And those are sort of the impulses that come out of this. Axiom number 7 is know yourself, know how God wired you. And one of the things that I've used in ministry is strength finders. Gallup is an organization that you hear of like Gallup polls, but they have had a faith division for 40 years. And Strength Finders is a book that you can find in business lists, but they also have, once again, out of their faith division, you can find the material. They have 34 different themes where they kind of put you through a little test, online test, and it helps capture some of who you are, not all, because it gives you your top 5 strengths. Everybody wants to know what the bottom few are, but it's not, you're supposed to focus on what your 5 are. So for me, I'm an achiever, strategic, relator, individualization, and arranger. Those are my 5. I'll tell you that like number 34 out of 34 is harmony. Harmony. Because I don't mind when people disagree. I don't mind at all. Actually, as an attorney, that's how I made money. That's why I don't mind, So, but achiever, out of this book, for example, it talks about that I have to listen to the whisper of discontent, that I've not done enough in a day. It also explains why at the end, and this might really sound odd, but at the end of a day, where I feel like, I haven't done enough, that especially when I was home, I would do laundry. Because I at least could get something done. And maybe you have, that's really weird probably for some of you right now to think about, but my wife's been able to handle that for a number of years. She doesn't like how I drive, but she likes that I wash. Strategic. I'm a person who, this definition of strategic is that you can visualize like 5 different ways to get the same destination. But what hinders people is that I can go from one way to another without even telling them I'm jumping paths. Okay? So I have to be mindful about helping people listen and follow as I relate to that. Relator just means I like to 5 people in a corner room. That's really filling for me. To go through the whole room of 45 people, where I just hear a little bit of everybody's story is not really something for me. Ben Van de Zandy, some of you may know, is individualization, and those are just a couple. I just give you that resource and share you some of those things to make you think. Don't forget Balaam's donkey. If you don't know the story, take your calling seriously, but not yourself. If God can use Balaam's donkey, and there's other words, yes, He can use you. Now smile. Smile that God can use you. So I had many times. We still remember, and this is nothing against this person at all. I mean, I love this person. Bonnie came to New Life Church. She was Baptist in background, hadn't been in church for 15 years. She has 3 children she's looking to baptize. So I'm just kind of telling you a little bit about her world and background. And she comes to Jackie and she wants to get involved in ministry. And Jackie says, well, I have this 4-year-old class, 4 and 5-year-olds class, where you read a Bible story and you watch them play a little bit and you pray with them. And Bonnie goes, I haven't been in church for 15 years. And Jackie said this very directly to her, can you read? Yes. Well, after that, that's all the kids care about. They don't care about if you haven't been to church for 15 years. But if you can read this story, and we made a little game with it for her in terms of thinking through God's going to use you. This person became the 2nd children's ministry director at New Life Church after my wife Jackie. And one of the things was just, once again, taking calling seriously, but not yourself. Next, be a learner to be a leader. There's these moments where people ask about you and they try to know different things about you and you say different things. Well, I need to tell you about this moment where I was very convicted by God. Very convicted. That, for example, it was this moment where they asked me about what my hobbies are. And I paused and said reading, which is, and I like traveling, yes. And then I usually add this thing. I says, well, and I play tennis. Now, the way God convicted me was for me to remember in that moment that if you haven't played for 10 years, it really is not a hobby. I was living off the fumes of something. I don't know. And, but, it's that you just kind of always did it. So I realized that if I still have a wooden racket, it's probably not going to be tennis.